program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning everybody, and welcome to the northeastern corner of South Africa. That is a white-browed scrub robin, and you are watching Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
I'm trying to imitate it. He's so confused now. Good morning again, everyone. My name is James. On camera is Brian today, who will show you his beautifully Monday decorated thumb shortly. On the other vehicle, Jamie Patterson. She's being filmed by Jean-Andre and his very greasy dreadlocks. And the final control, Louise, is being ably assisted, I think, by K. Max Smithereens this morning. It's difficult to tell these days. And we are coming out to try and find some lions. If you're perhaps joining us for the first time, this is not the white-browed scrub robin show, but because this bird is sitting so beautifully and singing for us there, I thought we'd just spend a time listening to him and watching him singing away. He's a very splendid fellow. Please talk to us. As that white-browed scrub robin is singing and tweeting away, you may tweet at us, #SafariLive, or questions at WildEarthTV if you prefer to use the email. Either will work just as effectively. And once we've finished looking at this white-browed scrub robin, we'll be going towards the eastern side of Djuma. That's where we are right now. And we're going to go and see if we can find the Nkuhuma pride of 5 lionesses, 8 cubs, and perhaps a male or 2. Brian, that was an excellent beginning, I feel, don't you? It is not often that we get such spectacular bird sightings. It is also, of course, you will have to excuse me, very difficult to say white-browed scrub robin at this time of the morning. Normally one says, as I did just now, fra-sha-sha-sha-sha. Brian, what is the thumb today?
Monday blues.
The Monday blues. Of course, we don't have Monday blues here because, well, Monday's the same as Sunday and Saturday and Friday and Tuesday and Wednesday and even Thursday. Right, on we go. If you are perhaps joining us for the first time, like I said, we're on a little place called Djuma, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park and indeed the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, which is 8.5 million acres of wildlife wilderness wonderland. That's very many W's in one go. There's the sun coming up, everyone. And one must almost stop to pay homage to the African sun as it peeps up over the horizon, as it is doing right this very instant. Here it comes, Brian. Do you see it?
I do.
Peeping.
I'm excited.
I'm overwhelmed. There it is, everybody. Boiling over the horizon like a sun. It is 14 degrees Celsius apparently, which is 58 degrees Fahrenheit. It does feel a little bit nippy, but certainly not cold by any stretch. And that great bubbling orb coming up over the eastern horizon will shortly warm us. Look how fast it's moving. It's almost like Brian is engaging in trick photography of some kind. Super zoom, son. Very nice. It is quite astounding, the speed at which it's moving. That is not in any shape, way or form edited, everyone. There's no speeding up of the picture you're watching there. It really is quite spectacular. Cadria, I agree with you completely as we watch the sun peeping up. You say robins have the best songs. I agree. I love the call of the white-browed scrub robin. And that one was doing a particularly different call. The tone is very obvious, but the actual notes, I don't think I've heard them do before. Brian, one should always, I think, move on when the sun is 2/3 above the horizon, don't you? Yes, I think that's the rule.
As per tradition.
As per tradition. Hello, Jen B. You say that bird makes number 145 on your list. Good stuff. That's a good number to have, and no doubt it will increase as the migrants begin to return. Let's head across to Jamie Patterson, find out what her plans for the morning are. I think she's doing some more filming with Jean-Dre, the where shall we say, OCD cameraman. Off to her, I'll see you later.
And a very good morning to all of you on this beautiful sunrise safari. And I think James and myself had a very similar idea to just stop for a moment and take in the beauty that is an African sunrise. Just have a look at this. Beautifully picturesque. And while we sit, there's a certain, despite the dryness, a certain feel of spring in the air. We're listening to a white-browed scrub robin with James. They're all chirping away merrily here as well. And the drongos and the hornbills and the go-away birds. There's even the faintest smell of moisture, a bit of petrichor in the air when we woke up this morning. I'm sure it will burn off very shortly, but for now, it is an exceptionally pleasant time to be out in the African bushveld. And here comes the sun. So our plans on this lovely spring morning. Well, apparently we have to do some behind-the-scenes filming, and Jean-Dre once again will be giving me instructions. As you know, it's one of my favourite things to do. I'm never awkward at all, and I always know exactly what I'm doing. That, of course, was entirely sarcastic. It's something I'm not very good at. But apparently we've got to go and find some fresh elephant dung and other such things, whilst the light is beautiful and golden. But a very good morning to you all once again. Quick introduction, my name is Jamie for new viewers, and this morning I have Jean-Dre on camera with me, which is very lucky because he's very good at telling me what to do and how to do all the behind-the-scenes filming, which is exactly what it is I need. And our plans after that, well, I thought I might trundle along to Cheetah Plains, but we'll see how we go with our 25 takes of sifting through elephant dung. I think we better go off and find some on that note. Go off and investigate. I heard some lions roaring this morning, but they sounded very far away. They sounded suspiciously like they were in Buffels Hook, which is the property to the north of our boundary. Now, they're not around at the moment, or at least some of them are not around at the moment. That's not to say the others are not. And there you go, to Lucy in South Bend, Indiana. You were saying that you could hear lions on the dam camera. I could hear them too. Perhaps there are some still closer. The Nkuhumas have not really moved around all that much. I know that they provided some amazing scenes yesterday on the sunset safari with Tristan. He was very, very chuffed. The Nkuhumas are rock stars, I believe, was the conclusion. Something suspiciously out of place in that tree. I'm going to go and investigate. And while I do, and while I go off in search of some fresh elephant dung to do some behind-the-scenes filming, let's jump back on board with James and see if he's enjoying this gorgeous morning as much as I am.
I would rather quite like to know what that suspicious thing in a tree was, wouldn't you, Brian?
I would too.
Do you think it was maybe a leopard?
Maybe.
Ooh, potentially maybe. But I don't know for sure. Who knows? We'll have to wait for Jean-Ray to finish the filming before we find out. Right, we're now on the northern boundary, everybody, and we're heading east into the rising sun. Well, we will be in approximately 6.5 seconds. 4, 5, 6 and a half. There we are. Now this is pretty much due east of this road, where, no it's not actually, due east is not quite into the sun, it's between the road and the sun, and when is the equinox? I think the equinox is sometime this month, if I'm not mistaken, and then it will rise exactly in the east, and by the time the end of summer comes, the sun will be rising to the right-hand side of the road, believe it or not. Such is the movement of the heavenly bodies, Brian. Turn my radio up slightly so I can hear what's going on. Ah, there we are. The voice of Taxon clear in my ear. Right, so we're hoping that the lions perhaps did something on this road last night. Hopefully they didn't go to the left of it. We can't go there, obviously. That is Buffels Hook, and Buffels Hook is a collection of small private holdings that we are not allowed to traverse at this stage. So we're just going to go down here and check to see where the lions' tracks have gone. Now, I'm afraid, Louise, I'm really struggling to hear you. Ah, Linda. You saw a Birmingham boy at the Pan. That's brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Linda. And I think, Lucy, you in South Bend in Indiana heard a lion calling far in the distance at some stage during the night. Good. Okay, well, that's good news. Perhaps the lion is still on Djuma. That would be good. Along with the little cubbies. There, Brian, is not a lion, but a terrified duiker now running away. Shall we leave him? Yes, he doesn't want to be on camera. No, carry on. Now, it was quite far from here that they were seen, so we're just going to keep going along. Oh, there's something wrong with the radio this morning. Anyway, we'll sort it out, I heard nothing during the night. Hello, Annie Mash. You say that this is a mighty cool concept, and that despite the fact that there are lots of different live channels popping up in your YouTube feed, this is the best. Well, we think it's the best too, Annie Mash. So thank you very much for joining us, and keep joining us, and thank you for talking to us as we explore the African wilderness. And if you are perhaps a new viewer, this is obviously a live safari you're going on from the northeast corner of the world's most beautiful country, that is South Africa. And we're looking for lions, but we don't know where they are. We're part of, like I said, 8.5 million acres of land, 3.5 million hectares, which means there could be animals everywhere, or, well, equally possibly, there could be animals nowhere. But most likely there will be some animals somewhere, and hopefully those will include the great Nkuhuma pride, for whom we search. 5 lionesses, 8 cubs, and perhaps the male who was seen drinking at the Pan. Hello, Gregory in Michigan. You're wondering if we're always never allowed to go into Buffels Hook. No, the status doesn't change. You'll find the Sabi sand, which is about 60,000 hectares, or multiplied by 2.5 odd, Brian, about 160,000 acres is a collection of private reserves, and well, there are lots of different landowners, and they've all got complicated traversing agreements with each other. There's a whole lot of politics involved, as inevitably there always is where human beings get involved. And so we don't traverse Buffels Hook at the moment, but if you come to Djuma and Bateleur, which is that's where we operate, you can drive on to Buffels Hook with Taxon and Aubrey. They have traversing over Buffels Hook and Torchwood. And it's all about the landowners not wanting to kind of overcrowd their land. Now, this is where they were yesterday. So we shall search for tracks going across the northern boundary, and then we'll head towards Buffels Hook Dam, which is now a dust bowl, Buffels Hook Dust Bowl, and we'll make a decision from there. You see any lions down there, Brian? No, no lions down there at all. Right, let's just ease our way through this little drainage section and perhaps have a little bit of a listen to see if we can't hear the cubs going ow, 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 ow. So we'll just listen quietly for a second. I can hear an arrow-marked babbler going. I can also hear a green-backed Cameroptera going. While we listen to birds, most amazing sighting of a cordon bleu, did we not?
We did.
Ryan, yesterday, a little blue waxbill sighting that knocking about in the leaf litter, and we got full frame pictures of these. Bearded woodpecker in the distance. Green pigeon. That's not a very good green pigeon, is it, Brian?
Not really, no.
No.
Sorry. Oh, there we go, that's better.
That's much better. Right, no lions calling, let's carry on. Most importantly, no tracks going north, which is a good thing. Thank you, Cheryl. You say the equinox is on September 22nd. There are some lion tracks here, but they're old and not disappearing across the road, which is good. If I see one worth showing you, I'll show you. Now, they were just in here yesterday, where Tristan sat with them. I will see. You can see the car tracks going in and out of this area. But you didn't see any lions, do you, Brian? No, none of them. Let's keep going. We're obviously going to stop for everything else as well, but lions will probably be the focus because we'd like to see them sort of hanging out in the golden morning light, as opposed to the bleached light of the midday. As opposed. You like that word, Brian? It's like white bar saffron. Some Impala. Let's stop and have a look at them. There they are, Brian. Glistening in the new dawn. A delightful colour. Some elephant up ahead. Taxon has got tracks of the lions to the way to the south of us, so that's a good thing. So they definitely haven't crossed south. Tax, I'd like to come and give you a hand. I'm on Buffels Hook cut line though. Where would you like me to check? I'll just get and ask Tax where he'd like us to have a look. Now, there's a specialized tooth, you know, that Impala has. A loose tooth, as well as a long tongue and a yawn. The loose tooth is in the bottom jaw there, and what it does is it helps him to clean ticks. It's just slightly longer than the others, and just a little bit loose so that it bends forward, and it means that he can scrape ticks very effectively off his body. Parasites out here obviously are one of the major things that all the animals have to get over. It's a constant arms race between animals, their immune systems, and the immense number of parasites that choose to live on them. And it's the same goes for us, you know. You'd be astounded by the number of parasites and parasitoids that live in and on your body. It's not a good idea to think about it, really. Make you feel dirty.
Especially this early.
Yes, exactly. And in the background, another bird calling, the chin spot batis. Oh, it's a perfect morning. Right, let's go on. Let's see if we can see this elephant who's been breaking trees in front of us. Hello, Sandy in Canada. You say, did we ever have such an exciting drive that I can't sleep at night? Or did we just get used to it and kind of get a bit blasé about it all? No, I don't ever struggle to sleep at night as a result of sightings we've had, unless they've been absolutely terrifying. But no, we have the feeling I get after a spectacular drive is one of immense satisfaction, and it actually helps me to sleep because I feel, you know, we've done a good job and we've had a really, you know, you set out to find something and you've had a profoundly good time, and that helps me to sleep, Sandy. Nice question, that. I think this elephant has moved off north into Buffels Hook, and all I heard was the cracking of branches. So he or she or they, I think, have gone. And we'll just ease our way up here, see if we can't get a small glimpse. Amazing how easy it is for elephant to hide. You see them, Brian? Brian can see them. Ah, yes, shadow in the sticks. I'll just move up a little bit here and see if we can't get a better view. It's not going to be our best elephant sighting, is it, Brian? No. But at least you will be able to see him there. Very nice. Monday morning elephant's ear. Eating, 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 eating. The inexorable chewing. That grey colour, again, like I say, very lovely subtle colour of this time of the year. So let's enjoy him for a little while. It is very tranquil indeed. Most tranquil. Right. Should we carry on, Brian? Because there's another elephant walking across the road. An enormous bull. Let's go and see him. He was giving that swagger as he walked across the road in front of us. That must swagger. Oh, and he's going to push that tree over. Naughty fellow. So we'll approach him with caution. That must swagger is just an indication that kind of, you know, like when a man is kind of posturing. That's what they do. And that's what he was doing there. Doesn't mean he's necessarily in must. Must, of course, their time of increased testosterone when they're looking for females to mate with. One of the only species where the male has to sort of be in heat as well, if you like. No, this chap's actually a little bit nervous of us, I think. He's not as big as I thought he was. He's got quite big tusks, but he's a bit of a youngster, so he's a little nervous. And so he's kind of swaggering away, saying, I'm not nervous of you, but I'm just going to go down here and see if there's something nice to eat. But you saw him swaggering with his head lolling from side to side. Like that. And now he's having a bit of a scratch. Let's go just down the road here. There's another road we can turn onto. There's a herd just off to the left. You can't really see. I'm not going to ask Brian to look at them, but they seem to be also coming this way. Ooh, it's quite nice. He's looking at us. I'm not sure what he's thinking about. He is streaming a little bit from his temporal gland, which indicates some kind of stress. Could be must, could be heat, could be the fight with his girlfriend. Hello, Snapple Attack. You want to know the oddest thing I've ever seen an elephant do is, well, probably what I'm seeing right now. I've got to think about that. What's the oddest thing I've ever seen an elephant do? I'll tell you the most amazing thing I've ever seen an elephant do is they learn very quickly about electric fences. And I once watched an elephant who was trying to get into the camp pick up a stick and hit the fence until it was down, and then step over it and into the camp. So he'd figured out that the wire was going to damage him, and that if he touched it, it would hurt him, but if he hit it with a stick, it wouldn't. And that is the most amazing thing I've ever seen an elephant do. Let's carry on around the corner here. Yeah, he's not waiting for anything now. He might pop out at Buffels Hook Dam, but there's no water there, so I'm not sure that he's going to. Let's carry on towards the dam. There he is. Hello, Brad. I think you're wondering if we get any, or if we're expecting any rain anytime soon. Brad, I don't think so for the next month or so. Brian reckons this... Oh, you're saying would we intervene if we don't get any rain? We're already intervening, Brad. There are a number of pumped pans around the place. The pan around the front of Djuma is pumped by a borehole. The one in front of the Gallagher camp, which is also just near where we operate, is also pumped. There are a number of dams all over Buffels Hook. Most of them, some of them are pumped, and then there's some in Torchwood. There's masses of water around for those who want to drink it, not so much for those who want to live in it, for example the hippo, but no, there is already quite a lot of intervention. Now, we're arriving at Buffels Hook Dam. I'm always expectant when I get here, but I don't think there's going to be anything here today given the lack of water. There is still moisture under the surface, as evidenced by the fact that Jean-Ray got himself stuck in the mud the other day. Rookie error. That looks like it's dry, but it really isn't. There's a lot of squidging and squodging you can do in there, and I'm really surprised that nothing has got caught in it. Because the last time it dried out, in December last year, many animals got caught in it, trying to get something to drink, and they sunk into it. Now they'd be safe, they wouldn't get stuck in it now. But just before it got to this sort of stage. But now I think those sort of cracks and things are not steady. I wouldn't like to try and walk across them. But the water is gone. The drinking water in the mud that elephants can toss on themselves is also gone. Kirsten says that they are very steady. Well, Brian, I don't believe her, do you?
No.
I think she's talking nonsense. Let's go and have a look. It's going to be difficult to get across here, though, isn't it? This is Sisyphus. This has got Owie written all over it. Thank you, Brian. Owie! Yes, I think up might be easier. Okay, I'm through. You'll tell me about the audio, will you? Yes. Just make sure there aren't any lions around. Well, it's certainly steady here.
Oh, audio's fading in and out.
Steady here. How's that?
No good.
No good.
Oh, there we go.
I take it back, Kirsten. Any sound?
Yeah, I've got sound.
It's completely steady. I'm not sure how Jean-Ray managed to fall into this. Right. We are then. It's completely solid and steady. Take it back. Just look behind you, Brian. Is that elephant coming out?
Not yet, no.
I think that car, and we'll continue our search for the lions. You'll be amazed how little Sisyphus it takes to catch a man.
Wonderful.
Well done. And that elephant is coming this way. I can just hear him. put my sound back in. I think I muted myself. Am I back?
No, you're muted now.
Am I muted?
Yeah.
Now?
Now you're good.
Okay, we're in. Sorry everybody. Bit awkward. Let's carry on. Yes. Thank you for the leggies. It's still a little bit chilly. Ah, James Richard, you say the thorns are going to put a tear in my snazzy new shorts. Well, they might, but you know, when you're a rough and ready ranger like me, well, a tear in your shorts is an addition to your fashion. Here he comes. Hello, Mr. Elephant. Swagger boy. There he is, coming across the dam wall. Oh, he doesn't know what to do. He's confused because we've stopped. William, that's an interesting question. You say, all the way from Oregon, because of where the elephant's eyes are set, does it have a blind spot at all? Now, I'm led to believe, and I have not tried this, that there is a blind spot actually, and it's right to the side. I know you're probably thinking of a blind spot in front of the elephant. Seems to be one just behind. Apparently you can walk up to an elephant if it doesn't move by walking straight at its sort of flank. If you come straight from a direct sort of perpendicular angle to its flank, you can actually walk up to it and touch it. I wouldn't recommend it, of course, because should the elephant turn its head, it is definitely going to see you. But I've heard stories of people doing exactly that. And fairly reliable stories. This guy's got he's either swaggering or he's got a sore ear. You see how he just keeps kind of shaking his head there? And he's now definitely watching us, trying to decide if we're irritating him or not. Let's see where he goes and how he reacts to us. I think he'll probably just press on. You can hear the white-browed scrub robins all over the place, down into the valley of the Wati. He's definitely very frustrated or irritated. It's not usual to see them walking with that kind of head shake. Well, if he finds the Nkuhuma pride, he'll certainly let us know about it by going brrrr. Good, very nice sighting, Brian, well done. Ooh. Wait. Hello, new viewer. Sounds like Seal Gaming. If that is your name. You want to know Seal Gaming? You want? You're a new viewer. It's lovely to have you with us. Brian, would you like to smell something delicious? The flowers of the knobthorn tree, everybody. Very lovely. You want to know what the first thing I'd do if an elephant charged us was? Well, I would hide under the dashboard, I think. That's quite a safe spot there, don't you think, Brian? Just under there in the footwell. Brian is too tall to do that, of course, so he'd have to get off and run. No, Seal Gaming, I'm being entirely facetious. The best thing to do would be to assess whether he was being serious or not being serious. Now, that brings up the sticky subject of what... Here are some lion tracks. It brings up the sticky subject of what might be described as a mock charge. Now, this is a term that I don't like to use at all. I'm just going to assess whether these tracks are fresh. But I don't think they're very fresh. And someone's just found a lion. I will get back to you right now. It's on North Rock Road, which is in Torchwood. Right, so what you do is an elephant will sometimes sort of run at you and open its ears, and people describe that as a mock charge. It's not a mock charge, it's a warning. He's saying, when I come toward, I'm uncomfortable with you, you need to go away and leave me alone now. And that's what an elephant is telling you when it does something like that. So once they start to do that, normally if you move away and you increase the space between you and them, then they're not going to charge. If it does turn into a full charge, and we actually had one the other day, very unusually here, and it was on Cheetah Plains, you need to be in a position where you can drive away quickly. Some will tell you you need to stop and bang on the door and shout and clap and make a big noise. That, to my mind, is an exceptionally stupid thing to do because, well, if you can get away in a car, then why not just increase the speed and deflect the conflict? So that would be my approach, would be to drive away. If you get into a situation where you can't drive away, say you've backed up into some bushes or something and the elephant's approaching you from the front, well, then the best thing is to make a big noise and shout and see if you can't make it stop, and then drive off. Now, this is one male lion that's come down this road, everybody. It don't look fresh to me, and one male lion has been found on Torchwood, which we can't go to. It's just to the east of here. Anyway, we might find something else. The rest of them, pride, might be around here somewhere. Yeah, just the one male. Hello Tim, you want to know how many lions we're looking for? Well, like I mentioned this morning, the ideal thing we were looking for is probably the 5 lionesses of the Nkuhumas and the 8 cubs, and maybe the male that's been with them. I think he's been sort of trying to convince Amber Eyes that she should allow him to consort with her. Yeah. He's come from somewhere around here. I wonder if he isn't the same male that has been around there, and if he hasn't turned on and gone back again. Anyway, we'll see. Time will tell. Let's move a little bit faster. Just cover a bit more ground before it gets too light and bright and warm and the lions go completely to sleep, which they do like to do, of course. Disturbingly much. Now, they've been on the tracks. I think that male may have been on the tracks of these buffalo. There's a buffalo or two been knocking about here. Just a couple of buffalo bulls. We'll just see around the next corner. They love this next junction. They tend to use it as a bit of a focal point when they're deciding to either go on to Torchwood to the east of us or down to the south of Djuma. Elephant tracks. No elephants at this stage. At least we've had some elephants, Brian. Many. Right, we'll stop at the drain at the junction here and just switch off and have a listen. The ubiquitous calling of the white-browed scrub robin. Oh, there he is. He's just on the edge of that silver cluster leaf tree. Can you see him there, Brian? You see the dead stump? The tree behind? He's just on the edge there, on the right-hand side of the tree. He's in picture now. Go down a little. He's there. Have you got him? No. Oh, down a bit. Go down a bit. There. Well spotted. It is the day of the white-browed scrub robin, everybody. You won't get a picture like that every day. Look at him fanning his tail. Let's try and imitate him. He's doing a drongo call. That at the end. He calms down, and then if I do it again, he'll kind of puff his chest out. So cool. Look at him displaying there and relieving himself. And as Louise says, he looks like a badminton shuttlecock. He does rather, doesn't he? There's just a little bit of imitation that he's doing there. Sounds like a crombeck, that brrr at the end. That fanning tail is very spectacular. I don't think I've seen that before. Now on the ground. Now we were asked and have been asked about the returnees coming back to breed here at Djuma, and Jamie has found just that.
The wonderful thing about spring being in the air is it means the return of some very familiar faces. In this case, our pale morph Wahlbergs eagles have returned from their inter-African migratory flight right back to the exact same position that they always occupy year after year. And what's amazing about this particular pair is that both of them are pale morph Wahlbergs eagles, which sort of stands to reason that their next set of chicks will most likely be a pale morph Wahlberg combination. So sort of roughly 5 to 10% of Wahlberg's eagles have this pale, almost sort of light grey colouring to them. There you go, there's the nest site that they use. Isn't that incredible? Year after year after year, they return to exactly the same spot. The same pair to the same nest, despite their hundreds of miles that they travel each and every single year. This could be the male or the female. It's hard to tell unless you've got them right up next to each other. The female, of course, is the larger of the two, in almost all cases with birds of prey. I'm going to suggest that this is the female sitting in the nest, that she might have decided to start sort of sorting it out, might have deteriorated in her absence from it. Isn't she beautiful? Yes, you, with your little crest sticking up at the top. So for those of you who are budding birders and learning the different eagles, the Wahlbergs have a very slight crest to the top of their head. They're a small eagle, a tiny little eagle, in comparison to something like a tawny or, say, a steppe eagle. We might be seeing our steppe eagles at some point in the future. But the Wahlbergs are usually one of our earliest returnees, and it is so lovely to see them once again on a road called Wahlbergs Road, because, as you know, that's where the nest is, hence the name Wahlbergs Road. Wahlbergs, I believe, was a Swedish, I think he was Swedish, sounds Swedish biologist. That's where the name Wahlbergs eagle comes from. I'm sure Brent will be able to tell us more when he returns from his birthday reading of the book of Latin names that I gave him for his birthday. They really are lovely. The standard, duck and cover. Just a very brief mobbing by a fork-tailed drongo who that was so half-hearted. It was just a little sort of semi-dive at the Wahlbergs. Not really committed to anything, it was more just a little for the show of it, or a statement. Yes, exactly, Wahlbergs. It was very rude. There you go, you can see the crest that I was talking about, and the lovely pale colour. Well, this one's looking a little bit dirty. I don't know if it's the light. They are, of course, mottled in the front, but this one looks a little bit like it could do with some cleaning. Dark brown eyes. For those of you learning your different birds, Wahlbergs have dark eyes. All of them have dark eyes, including these pale morphs. You also get a dark morph Wahlbergs eagle, which, as the name suggests, funnily enough, is the opposite of a pale morph Wahlbergs eagle, just in case that needed any clarification. There's a pair of them. There's one pale morph and one dark morph that used to nest at Red Dam, so hopefully they will decide to return this year as well. So a lovely surprise. We've seen these guys mating before, and hopefully we'll be able to watch them raise their chicks. Lovely question coming through from Michael, which was, how common is it to have sort of different colour morphs in a pair, and how long do they live? I don't know how long they live. Sorry, just to put that out there, I was going to suggest somewhere into their teens. Generally, birds of prey are very, very long-lived animals, possibly even up to their 20s. Those of you who perhaps have a better idea as to how long a Wahlbergs eagle might live, I'd love to hear if you've got an answer to that. In terms of the morph coloration, it can be, the combination is pretty much endless. It's just the fact that there's about, as I said, 5 to 10%, probably a little bit higher in this area, so closer to 10% pale morph, and then, he's off. Early morning breakfast. That was a brave decision. Well done, Chandra. I don't know. Did it catch something? I mean, because that was bizarre. That was like was it caught? Oh, I think it has. Oh no. It's nest building. Alright, well that explains that very peculiar decision to go diving into a guarri bush. Oh, look at that. That's awesome. How magic is that? Nest material gathering. I wondered why it went and chose the worst possible bush that was never going to properly support its weight. That was very, very cool. So it's like what we saw the shikras doing the other day, actually physically breaking off the branches and laying them on the nest. Rather than, our little weaver species or anything like that, they often just gather stuff off the ground, although weavers do strip away bits of palm leaf and so on. But these big birds of prey have got the strength and the dexterity to physically gather it. That's so interesting because I've never seen the inside of a Wahlberg's nest. And clearly they utilize things like that guarri branch that it just flew past with as a nice soft padding. Because if you look at that nest, it's that messy bundle of thorny sticks. It doesn't look very comfortable. Sarah, I agree. I was just thinking the exact same thing watching them lie in their nest, that a nest cam would be absolutely lovely. They are such gorgeous birds. We don't think, if I remember correctly, we don't think that they were successful last year in terms of raising a brood. We never saw a juvenile or even little heads poking themselves over the top of the nest. No, don't quite know why they weren't successful, but a nest cam would be lovely. And we're going back again. Please go back into the guarri bush. That was hilarious. It's going, it's going, it's going. Oh, yes! That's awesome. That was a much better landing. Oh, I hope you're getting some amazing screenshots, because this is so awesome. I wish I had a camera. Look what you got, you clever thing. Sorry, Michael, I realized I didn't actually finish answering your question properly. But this is just too fascinating for words. Oh, Chandra, awesome. How amazing, the skill of our cameraman, just by the way. Well done. That one's a bit smaller than the last one you got. I think your mate's going to be a bit disappointed. You set the standards a bit too high the first time round. Maybe it's finishing touches. I suppose it takes all kinds sizes of guarri branch to make a nest. Whoop. Run, run, run. Trying to figure out a way to get it onto the nest. A very valid point from Susan, something that we often forget, or I often forget, I shouldn't say we, I often forget, is that it's very difficult to get a sense of scale in terms of the size of these birds. Oh, sorry, just look at the way it's walking along. What now? Your nest is that way. Go on. Go back. I'm loving this. So Susan, very good point. We often sort of don't give you a sense of scale. I'm looking for an exact size so that I can give you an exact size. I'm trying to think of a... Oh, this is perfect. I'm trying to think of a nice comparative thing. For some reason my brain never works in terms of size comparisons, and I end up with the most bizarre thoughts going through my head. They're tiny. So I've got, in terms of rough exact height, you're looking at about 60 centimeters, which is, what is that? That's about roughly 25 inches in terms of height. No, that's not right. No, that is right. It's close to. So roughly 25 inches in height. I'll give you an indication with my hand that they're about as long as my forearm, give or take. Look at that. Putting them in the nest. It's awesome. No, so roughly from my elbow to the tip of my fingers is about the size, maybe a little bit less. But, no, that'd be about right. It's about as tall as they are. In wingspan, you're probably looking at just over 1 meter, whereas a lot of our eagles go right up over 2 meters in terms of their entire wing structure, and they're about double the height. So they are one of the smallest eagle species that we get. This is such a beautiful scene that we've been watching. I really enjoyed that. Michael, sorry, just to finish off your question, because I didn't quite. They don't, as far as I know, they don't show preference for a morph that is the same as them, if that makes sense. So a pale morph will not favor a pale morph. It's just they do mate for life. They come together for the breeding season with the same mate that they had the season before. So they are monogamous. But as far as I know, the morph doesn't show any preference for the same one. A very square tail for that eagle. Back again! Oh, I got overexcited there. It's a lovely, lovely point coming through from Sandy in Canada. We very often talk about bald eagles and sort of the way that they compare to our eagle species. And apparently, bald eagles, according to Sandy, take a cedar branch and put it in their nest each and every day to basically keep the nest smelling fresh and clean, like having one of those air freshener thingies, like one of those car air fresheners dangling from your rearview mirror. guarri bushes, as far as I know, don't have any scent, but, well, nothing particularly vibrant or clean smelling. They just smell like tree to me. But that is a possibility. I wouldn't put it past certain bird species to know which branches to put in. I think they're taking the guarri bushes because they're dense, they're green at the moment, and they're quite relatively soft, and there's no thorns. So I think that's why they're choosing those. But I like the idea of basically the car air freshener. I'm taking a break from nest building now, enjoying the morning sunlight. The nice thing, of course, about these live safaris is that now that they're back, we can pop past this Wahlbergs eagle nest whenever we happen to be in the area and see how they're doing and keep our fingers crossed that they'll be more successful than they were last year. Beautifully done. Fluffing up their feathers, making sure all is in good order, having a bit of a preen. And that's essential, of course, because they are so reliant on their feathers in terms of flight. And speaking of flight and birds of prey, let's jump over to James, who has probably one of the most striking of them all.
Well, it's striking at a relatively close distance, I suppose. This chap is right in the middle of a block, and this pair of Bateleur eagles lives around here. We're on Leadwood Road, which is to the southern and eastern portions of Djuma, and this pair of Bateleur likes to live around here. Now, I know one of you was quite interested in the size of a Bateleur, of a Wahlbergs eagle, about 2 feet for a big one. This one is supposed to be about 10 centimeters or 4 inches taller than a Wahlbergs eagle. So that gives you a comparison to the bird you were looking at versus this one, particularly now. A bit more colorful, and also not, at least it is resident, it is not a migrant bird. So they live around here as a monogamous pair. I think, can you hear that? I think that's one of the youngsters calling. Because normally their call is a... Brian, would you like to do it?
I don't even know how they sound normally.
With that noise you made. It is, that is not exactly inaccurate.
Okay.
It's slightly shorter. Is the exactly. You can often hear them flying around in the air, and then they go. Ah! The bird book describes it as ka 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 ag. Hello, Michael. Quite interesting question from you. You want to know, as with many of the eaglies, is the female bigger than the male? And in this case, I don't believe that to be the case. It might be very slightly, but not as obviously so as with the true eagles. And you say, will they abandon their nests if they are attacked, or not attacked, if they're perhaps robbed by human beings, or if they come into contact with human beings? I imagine there might be incidences where they would, but I don't know for sure. I don't know of anybody who's actually been up to a Wahlbergs eagle's nest, at least a Bateleur's nest. I've come across abandoned Wahlbergs nests before, and have actually rescued a Wahlbergs chick fledgling that couldn't fly yet, and eventually it flew off and became a wild Wahlbergs. But a Bateleur, I don't know. It's a nice question. And as you say, with the bald eagle, we know that, well, and I think with a number of bird species that happens, but I do think that it's less common than we think it is. For example, sorry, just look here. They, for example, the ground hornbills, people go and take their eggs out, the second egg, because they lay 2 eggs and one of them will always die, so they go and kidnap those out of the nests, and that doesn't result in any kind of negative effect for the remaining egg. And I know that there are a few different bird species that they do that with. Here are some impalas. There we have. We're just listening here for tracks of lions. I'm just going to get on the radio quick. Jamie, I didn't have any tracks. I did Drakensberg Road. There's one male that walked along there, but I haven't had any tracks with the rest of the pride. I'm now on Leadwood. Yeah. It doesn't sound like the Nkuhuma pride has crossed out of the reserve, which is good news. So we'll start moving slightly quicker from where we are now. It does also sound a little bit like they're in that rather nasty block south of Buffels Hook Dam. Hello Gigi, you are wondering about how long it took me to learn to identify animal tracks. Well, it depends entirely on the animal track and how distinct it is. So Gigi, after somebody pointed out a very obvious lion track to me only once, well then I could identify them. But that's not the real trick. It's not hard to do that. Well, it's much harder with the antelope because they're very slightly different shapes from each other. But if they're in an obvious substrate, so some good sort of clay, dry clay, you'll be able to see them very easily. It's when they're more obscure and when they have been walked over, or it's only a partial track because something's rubbed over one, or they've walked over rock, that's when it becomes difficult. And that is a continuous learning process. But were you to come here, for example, and I were to show you a hyena track and a leopard track and a lion track walking along this road, it would be very clear and distinct, and it wouldn't be hard for you to recognize them again the next time you saw them. Now I'll just try and find you some examples. And Shelby, a nice question from you, and I don't really know the answer, but to say that I don't think so. You say, do animals ever follow each other's tracks by following the tracks, and then do prey catch their prey by following the tracks? I don't think so, no. I think they do it with smell, and my reason for saying that is, I mean, if you can teach a bloodhound to follow the trail of a human being or an animal and they're not looking for tracks, it's done purely on smell. So I think animals, us especially, do leave a scent, and I know that if an elephant wants to come and find you, it will follow you track for track, but on your smell. They don't look, they use their trunks to smell where you've been. So I think it's done largely on smell. There aren't any obvious tracks for me to show you here, Gigi, that will stand out. But if I find one, you'll see exactly what I mean. Here we go. There's a whole little group of them there. Oh no, that really is so irritating. One is tempted to just pull. My wire got stuck, everyone. It's now attached. Okay. I'm alright, Brian. Okay. So far. Alright, Gigi. If you look over here, can you see here, Brian? That is very obviously a zebra's track. It looks just like a horse track. It's just the round toe. Now, you'd never mistake that. Now that I've taught you that, if you walked along a road like that and saw that, you'd know that it was a zebra. But, however, if you saw that, let's say this was a piece of rock over here. If you just saw that, you might be a little bit more confused by it. But if you're an experienced tracker, then you'd know that that was a zebra that had just been partially obscured. Likewise, if you saw this one here, you can see what I'm looking at, Brian? Yep. There are two tracks here. One of them is a zebra underneath here, and walking on top of the zebra is a hyena track. and you can see the hyena's toes there, and you might be able to see the claw marks where I've made the claw marks there, and that very distinctly kidney-shaped hind pad. So that, if you didn't know what you were looking at, would be a little bit more difficult. You might recognize the hyena track, but you probably wouldn't recognize that it had stood on a zebra unless you were relatively experienced. So it's an almost impossible question to ask or to answer, to say how long does it take you to identify tracks. So it really does matter how distinct they are, and those particular ones are pretty distinct, but it can be very difficult indeed, especially if you're trying to follow tracks, for example, through a block. On a road it's not too much of a problem, but the really good trackers will follow something as light of foot as a leopard through an area like this and be able to see where it walks. I cannot do that. I have tried many times. Alright, we're going to continue trying to find where these lions have gone, because nobody has found tracks of the cubs and the rest of the pride. While we do that, I think Jamie's on the similar sort of mission. Let's go and find out from her firsthand.
I just thought I'd give James the odd hand, since we were in the area, and I'm not going to manage to get to Cheetah Plains this morning, as was my plan, but we had to do some behind-the-scenes filming. But that's okay, I'll do it this afternoon for the sunset safari. So I thought, well, since I was here, I'd just have a quick poke my nose around and see whether or not they haven't popped out on this road, which they have not. It looks as though most of them have gone towards Torchwood, but we don't know for certain that all of them have. And we've got a lovely young Waterbuck bull. I say he's young, his horns have not yet reached their full size. Still slightly inward facing, almost, but he's got a little bit of growing to do yet. And as Andre pointed out when we pulled up, you can actually smell him quite clearly on this nice and still morning. They carry a very distinctive, as I think James described it as goat smell. Oh no, that was the civet dung. I can't remember how James described it. He had a brilliant description though. Beautiful. Just enjoying basking in the morning sunlight. Perhaps he knows where the lions are, because they definitely walked along here at some point. Where are you? That was it. The smoky old saddle, that was the description that James provided. Try and get this pearl-spotted owlet to come out. It's somewhere close here. Let's just go a little further forward. And James and myself have been playing Call to the Birds this morning, with his white-browed scrub robin. Me with a tiny little owl called a pearl-spotted owlet that is somewhere here. I suspect he's in that marula tree at the back, or somewhere in that general vicinity. Nope, not today. No luck today. Pearl-spotted owlet sitting somewhere in the tree going, "Go away, I'm sleeping. It's bedtime now." Chandra, if you've spotted it, I will be so impressed with you. No way. No way. Seriously impressed with Chandra right now. That's incredible. Okay, now I see him. Jeepers, straight into the sun. Well, everybody, wherever you are around the world, I'd like you all to break into a stupendous applause for Chandra, who's spotted one of the smallest of the owl species. And then, well, no, I mean, it flew away. That's not so much your fault. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. That was an amazing spot because it was straight into the sun as well. So there you go. I know it wasn't the best view that we've ever had, but it was a lovely little owl species called a pearl-spotted owlet. Well done, Jean-Andre. And we seem to be on something of a birding mission unintentionally this morning. Let's go to James and his kingfisher.
There be a brown-hooded kingfisher, everybody. Gorgeous bird. And of course reminding us of the woodland kingfisher that shall return shortly. If you're ever wondering whether you're looking at a woodland or brown-hooded kingfisher, the woodland, slightly cleaner looking, is the most obvious sort of feature. The blue is less green than that particular blue, and the beak is red on top and black on the bottom. But they don't have that kind of brown, dirty looking featheration on top plumage. Featheration I don't think is a word. In fact, I'm 90% sure it isn't a word. Featheration. The they don't have the dirty plumage on their heads and underneath their wings there. They're much cleaner looking featheration than this bird. Right. Monique, you are saying in London, I'm not sure if you're watching, I think it's a bit early, I think you only watch in the afternoons, but Monique, you were describing your walk yesterday along the River Mole, and the fact that you had seen 3 kingfishers there. Well, this is the one that we see most commonly over here now, on account of the fact that there's no water for the pied kingfishers and malachite kingfishers to dive into. Pygmy kingfishers should be around soon. Woodland, well, not just for the next month or so. And striped, there was a report of a striped kingfisher the other day. Nemo, you're wondering when the woodland will return. I don't think for some time. Certainly they only came back on the 16th of November last year. So don't be looking around for them too expectantly. But it might be different this year. Oh, and Joey in Australia, you're wondering about when it is that the cuckoos are going to come back. It could be fairly soon that they come back, 1 or 2 of them. The first one I heard last year was the black cuckoo, and he makes that, "I'm so sad, I'm so sad." Brent saw a Burchell's cuckoo the other day, which of course is not to be confused with a cuckoo, Louise. Not migratory, nor a cuckoo. Let us look into the boughs of this very pretty jackalberry tree and just see what's eating the fruits. I think its fruiting is probably about to cease. It has been fruiting for some time. But again, it's very much a birdie kind of safari day today. Some grey go-away birds hopping about up there, enjoying the fruit. The sort of subtle, no, not so subtle, but fading smell of baboon dung in the air, because the baboons have been feeding around here, and where a baboon has been, he has normally left his mark in the form of a fairly smelly, steaming brown pile. I'm astounded at their design and how they're able to actually do anything in a tree like that without falling out. Brad, you want to know if we get ground hornbills at Djuma? We do indeed, Brad. We had one this morning, or 2 or 3 of them calling just before we came live, and we went up that first road where you first saw us today. I thought they were around there somewhere. So yes, we do get them, Brad. But they're not common, obviously. You probably know that they're highly endangered, and we don't get many of them here, but they are around. Righty, let's just continue up the riverbed. I think Jamie has got a few tracks of that pride, so that's good. We'll head back towards her. Dark Knight, you're wondering, appropriately for your moniker, you're saying, do some of the Kingfishers present some sort of a bad omen to the local people? No, not that I know of. I think Kingfishers are not considered a bad omen. Owls are the birds most often thought of as bad omens, and vultures. Owls and vultures, they are the most commonly thought of as having sort of spiritual or foresight. Owls, I guess, because they fly around at night, and vultures because they feed on the dead, and therefore they're supposed to be able to predict and see into the future. And crows, not so much here, no. But he's probably, I mean, anything that goes over your head going, ah, ah, is, well, it's just scary, frankly. Now, there are lots of kingfishers and things in here, maybe a leopard or two, possibly just some trees. Now, I found no tracks of the whole pride, and I think Jamie may have some there on Central Road, and so we'll go and give her a bit of a hand down there. We've done kind of a big loop around where they were, but nothing since then. Alright, while we head along the river, let's go and find out from her first hand what's happening with those tracks.
We might actually even bump into James at this point on our way towards the Mulwati. I don't really want to be in the Mulwati, I want to be on the other side of it, but I have to do a funny little loop in order to get around and back onto Inyala Road south. It looks as though, look, we've got to stop now making assumptions with female leopard tracks, because we've had Cheetah hanging out around the Voyatela Dam, the granddaughter of Saleheshe. So it may well not be Karula's tracks that I've found. I found a female leopard's tracks heading towards Inyala Road South. It is one of Karula's favourite areas. It's where she gave birth to those cubs of hers, her current set of cubs, between Bateleur and Inyala Road South, which is exactly where those leopard tracks are heading. And we're just going to do a quick nip through the Mulwati. We'll leave the Mulwati to James so he can do a bit of a river cruise. You never know, he might encounter her somewhere along the way as well. And we're going to make our way to Inyala Road South. Definitely one of my favourite places on this reserve. Obviously this morning we started out by doing the Chandra and myself started out doing the behind the scenes filming. Now typically every single work cycle that Chandra works, we have a bet going as to whether or not he will make it out the other side uninjured, which sounds terrible. Emerald spotted wood dove. Chandra is immediately drawing attention away from this conversation. Very well, very well. I shall not be distracted though. I will, briefly, because they are so beautiful. Don't go down that way, stay this side. Look how beautiful the green is on those wings. And that is an emerald spotted wood dove, and it's just vanished. Come back. Come back. I don't know if it's gone down into the drainage line itself. Let me go backwards a little bit. It was so beautiful in this morning light, that incandescent sheen. No. It has dipped below where we can see it. Oh, coming back. No. Come on, little bird. I did see that head peek out. This way, the seeds are this way. Come this way. Here we go. An emerald spotted wood dove, supposedly listening to the entire call. It's meant to be saying, I'm sad, 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 sad. And it's meant to be very bad luck to listen to the whole call, because this dove is so sad. It is not, of course, bad luck at all. It's a beautiful little bird and you can see why it's called the emerald spotted wood dove. There is also a blue spotted wood dove, which looks essentially identical, just that the spots, as you may have guessed, kind of like what we were talking about with dark and pale morph, the spots are just blue instead of green. They are quite lovely. They leave their tracks all the way across the road. Lovely. Well, Chandra did manage to distract us completely from what we were chatting about before, and as it happens, James has got a further distraction in the form of a very large grey thing.
Not a hippopotamus, is it, Brian? It's got a long nose, indicating that it is a member of the Proboscidae family, and the only member of the Proboscidae family here. Ergo, it must be an elephant. Young elephant bull, eating what is known as the splendid thorn, a fairly uncommon acacia tree here, Acacia robusta. Which he is having for his splendid breakfast, Brian. There's a bit of a herd to the right-hand side of us, but they're going into some fairly thick stuff now. And in the background you may have heard another sort of unusual-ish kind of a call, and that is the call of the black-collared barbet going "Tupatli, tupatli, 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 tupatli." Not a migrant, but now starting to sing again as we go towards the breeding season. Justin, you want to know what the hardest bird call to imitate is? That's an interesting one. I suppose it would be something, well, some of the robins, they've got some very complicated calls. What do you think, Brian? Some of the owls. That's a really good question, Justin. I mean, there are lots I can't do. You know what it is? I think it's probably, Louise, I was thinking the similar sort of thing. She's saying fiery neck nightjar, which says, "Good Lord, deliver us." That is difficult. I think also some of the owls are quite difficult, the barred owl, but the francolins as well. The francolins are quite difficult. We don't really have a voice that can do them. I'm going to sneak forward because there's another one just off to the right-hand side. I don't want to give this young bull a fright. He is a young bull. Always just hanging out on the fringes of the herd. Hello, Dizzy Leo. You're wondering about the age of an elephant and how you can tell their ages. Sorry, fellow, I didn't mean to give you a fright. Dizzy Leo, you can tell the age of an elephant only from its size and from experience. You need to have a bit of aging them because it's not obvious. So the most obvious thing is when they're, say, less than a year old, they're able to walk under their mother's belly, so that's the first one. Then their tusks erupt between 2 and 2.5 years, depending on whether they're bulls or cows. But after that, it really just is experience and sort of, either knowing them personally or spending time with somebody who knows elephants well. And so this one, I would say, is probably just under 15 or 16 years old. And I got to tell you, not looking in very good condition. And I hope for the sake of the elephants that we do have some rain fairly soon. Because these guys are struggling a little bit now. What is a beautiful, beautiful shot there that Brian has of his yellowing teeth. I don't think he brushed them last night. Do you, Brian? And the tusk, just to remind you, I know most of you know this, but a tusk is the incisor tooth. And for our younger viewers, there's the front two teeth. And of course, very important to many animals, rodents especially, that most obviously have the very long front teeth. But in an elephant, they grow out from the sort of nasal sinus passages, that's where the roots are, and then they kind of twist and come out of the top lip. If you've ever seen an elephant's skull, it's actually quite fascinating. Hello Shelley, good one from you about ivory and rhino horn. You say if a rhino or an elephant dies of natural causes, what happens to the ivory? I think most of the ivory that is around this place is hidden. I think it is probably under bushes and in the sand, and it has probably just never been found. But if it is found, it's put into a stockpile. It's taken away, put into a safe, and put into a stockpile, and labelled and registered. And using those tusks extremely skillfully. Oh, this is wonderful. I'm just keeping an eye out to the right hand side because there are a few others. And that foot with its big thick callus underneath. And little toenails, look at that. You need a bit of a pedi there, Brian.
Looks like he stubbed his toe.
He does look like he stubbed his toe. Not nice to stub your toe, is it, Brian? No. When you do it and you look down knowing that you're going to see a piece of skin flapping off there and blood welling, I remember it well as a child, being deeply, deeply upset by the whole process. A stubbed toe. And here, there's a big cow there coming towards us. Well, she's not coming towards us, Brian. Once you've finished artistically framing the rumpled and yellowing grey skin of that elephant, there's a very large cow off to the right-hand side. And a very nice way to tell that she is a cow, of course, is the fact that she has that very square head, and you can see that even in silhouette, you can see it. You see the very square front to her forehead.